Have you ever wondered why there's so many storms in Florida? Well, as someone who was born and raised in Florida, I've personally always wondered, how come there's so many storms in Florida? Isn't it supposed to be the sunshine state? Well, it's actually the thunderstorm capital of the United States, despite its quote-unquote sunshine state nickname. I mean, this place gets hammered with more thunderstorms than any other state. In fact, some parts of Florida experience thunderstorms over 100 days out of the year. So what's really going on here? Why does Florida get so many thunderstorms? So let's break it down. First, let's really get a sense of how stormy Florida is. So on average, there's between 70 to 100 thunderstorm days in a year here in Florida, especially in central Florida, including cities like Orlando, Tampa, that whole general area, right? So compare that to somewhere like California, which might only get around 5 to 10 thunderstorm days a year. That's a pretty big difference. And the reason that is because it comes down to three main things, and that is the geography of Florida, the climate of Florida, and the timing of everything. Everything falling perfectly into place at the right time. So, let's start with the basics. Florida, it's a peninsula, and it's surrounded by warm bodies of water. We have the Gulf on the west coast, and the Atlantic to the east coast. And so, the geography of Florida plays a huge role in this. Why are these bodies of water important, you're asking? Well, because these bodies of water heat up, and the water evaporates, and it rises into the atmosphere, which puts a lot of moisture, which is important for storms. Now that you add Florida's flat land, since there's nothing here, there's no mountains to block the weather patterns, that means hot, humid air can rise uninterrupted into the atmosphere, which is perfect for thunderstorm conditions. So right here we have a diagram from the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and this basically just shows what I was talking about, where the evaporation from the Gulf is going into the atmosphere, and the heat from the sun causes all these storms to form later in the afternoon, which is exactly what I was talking about. And then, rinse and repeat, and the cycle goes. The water cycle, which we learned in elementary school. The next ingredient is Florida's heat and humidity. I mean, especially in the summer, if you've been here, you know what I'm talking about. If you live here, especially, you know what I'm talking about. The afternoon temperatures get way into the 90s Fahrenheit, 32 to 35 degrees Celsius for people who measure that way. And when you combine all that heat with all the moisture in the air, you get an atmosphere that's basically primed for storms. In meteorological terms, this creates a high instability atmosphere. Warm, moist air is able to quickly rise through the cool air above, and that rising motion is exactly what you need to trigger thunderstorms. Here's where it gets really interesting. Unlike other places, Florida's storms are way different because they are driven by a phenomenon that we call sea breeze convergence. This is what sea breeze is, and this is how it works. So during the day, the land heats up faster than the ocean does, which causes the air over land to rise faster and the cooler air from the oceans to swoop in and replace it. And that's what we call sea breeze. Now, as I said earlier, Florida has two coasts, the Atlantic coast and the Gulf coast. And in the afternoon, the breezes, they often collide with each other at the central part of Florida, like I said earlier, where Orlando and Tampa and all those places are located. So when the air masses meet, the air has nowhere to go but up, because they're just colliding with each other. So they're kind of forced to go up, which creates powerful updrafts that spark thunderstorm development. So here's a diagram showing the sea breeze. So here you got the Gulf, and then you got the Atlantic, and then so here in the middle you have all that hot air that rises, right? Because the land is heating faster than the ocean. So all that cool air comes rushing in and replaces it, right? Causing these strong updrafts, which causes these thunderstorms you see here, which we deal with almost every day. Here's something pretty crazy. Our storms aren't just all wind and rain. We get a lot of lightning, and I mean a lot. Some of the most in the world. There's very few places that actually get more lightning than we do here in Florida in a year. So it's pretty crazy over here. In Central Florida, they were actually given the name Lightning Alley because they get more lightning strikes than almost anywhere else in the US. In fact, Florida averages over 1.2 million cloud-to-ground lightning strikes every year, which is insane. So why so much lightning? Well, warm, moist air promotes strong updrafts, and these updrafts separate charges within storm clouds, which build electrical potential, and boom, there you go, you have lightning. And stay indoors, because you do not want to get hit by that. Now, let's not forget, we don't just have afternoon thunderstorms all the time. We also get tropical storms, and we also get hurricanes. This is because of Florida's position on Earth. Since it's smack dab in the middle of two oceans, it makes it a prime target for tropical weather systems during hurricane season, which runs from June to November. These huge systems bring intense rainfall, wind, and even more thunderstorms. So even when a hurricane doesn't make direct landfall in Florida, the outer bands of the storm that come through still count as thunderstorms. So we still get plenty of storms from a hurricane, even if it doesn't make direct landfall. And these storms can be pretty strong sometimes. They bring lots of wind, lots of rain, lots of lightning, and sometimes even tornadoes. Like if you look, I believe it was last year or maybe the year before that, we had a big a big hurricane come through, and it didn't directly impact my area. I believe it went up the Gulf Coast of Florida, and where I am, we had a bunch of the outer bands come, and we had a bunch of tornadoes on the East Coast because of the outer bands from the hurricane. So all these tropical storms and hurricanes, even if they're not directly hitting you, you still want to keep an eye out for them and just be a little aware, So the storm I was talking about was actually Hurricane Milton. So over here you can see Florida. I'm over here on the west coast, right? So all these outer bands right here, all these outer bands were very powerful storms, and a lot of them actually produced tornadoes. That was the biggest threat in my area, was the tornadoes. The storm did hit Florida. It was on the Gulf Coast side, and it did make landfall in Florida. So again, adding to the total of the storms that hit Florida and bringing all these smaller storms on the outer bands, which, as I said earlier, brought a bunch of tornadoes. One was only 15 minutes from where I live, and I'll try and find the video on Twitter of the tornado that was near my area and show you guys. Posted by ACC Weather here, you can see this tornado here. This is the one I was talking about. I literally, when I woke up, this tornado was happening. I rushed out of my house to go see it, and I missed it. By the time I got to the location to see it, it was gone. I was so upset. I've never seen a tornado before. I want to so bad. And actually, if we scroll down a little bit, here you can see the radar imagery of all these different tornado warnings going on. Like I was saying before, all these outer bands right here, you can see these storms popping up. And, they were all powerful and strong storms producing lots of tornadoes, as you can see. So just be aware. Now, the timing of it all, like I mentioned earlier. So if you've spent any time in Florida, if you've lived in Florida, if you've visited Florida, you've probably noticed that all the storms like to occur in the afternoon. So why is that? Well, it's all about the timing, like I mentioned before. By midday, the sun has already heated the ground to its max, and the heat builds and the sea breezes converge. So by 2 to 4 p.m. usually, the skies darken and the storms start to roll through. And that's when you can usually expect them. Obviously, we do get some in the morning, we do get some in the night, but, they're most often during the afternoon. Now, our storms, they're usually pretty short. They can be like 20 minutes. Sometimes, though, they can get a little long, an hour or two. But they're usually pretty short. But they're more intense. They often dump a lot of rain. Sometimes they have hail. They get tornado warned sometimes. We get a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. The tornado warnings are pretty rare, but they do happen. And we even get microbursts. So just be a little aware of the weather around you. If you're out one afternoon or you have plans outside, you want to make sure that you have a clear day. Otherwise, you might want to carry an umbrella with you. Some of you are probably wondering, will this get any worse? Are we going to see more storms in the decades to come? Are we going to see stronger storms in the decades to come with climate change and all this and all that? Well, as global temperatures are rising, the atmosphere is able to hold more moisture, and with more moisture and more heat, that means more fuel for these storms. So, it's led to believe that Florida could see even more frequent and intense thunderstorms in the future. So, our sunshine state might get a little stormier over these next few decades to come. I guess we'll have to see, won't we? So, it's not 100% for sure, not certain, but it's expected. So let's do a quick recap of everything we went over. So Florida's peninsula shape brings in the moist air from both oceans. The hot, humid summers provide the instability that the thunderstorms need. The sea breeze from both coasts collide over central Florida, creating all the lift. And frequent tropical systems add to the storm count. So you put it all together, and Florida is a thunderstorm machine. It's beautiful, yes, but also wild, unpredictable, and electric. So next time you're in Florida and you see all these clouds building after around lunchtime, expect some storms so you know what's coming. If you found this video informative and entertaining, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more weather videos like this. And if you have any questions about the weather where you live, ask it in the comments below. So again, thank you for watching, and have a good one.